Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the tips. Now, we all have to come to a logical agreement about this whole thing so we're not over our heads. But before we get to that point, you guys remember that this whole thing started back in 2016, 2017 with the gig economy, delivery service. There was no much discussion about how much you need to make per mile. Because people were making, I think, they were averaging out pretty decent when the gig economy first came out. I think around 2021 is when we start hearing from other gig economy content creators on YouTube saying that, and that's when I think the starting point was, and I think it's around the epidemic time or after it, where we start saying that we should be making at least $2 per mile. Why is that? Because things changed. The prices were going up. Maintenance was going up, cost of living was going up, and there you have it. I mean, that's why a lot of drivers are saying, well, it ain't working if we're not making at least $2 per mile. But that was back in 2021, 2022, when we started having those conversations about how much you need to make per mile. Here we are in 2024. It has hit the fan with the economy, inflation. The prices are way sky high. So now, I don't hear it recently from other content creators, but I believe it should be at least $3 per mile nowadays because of the way the economy is as of right now in 2024. Next year, who knows what's going to happen. So with that in mind, let's get to the tips. Now, what do you guys think? And we need to come to a logic agreement. What do you guys think when somebody orders, let's say, a breakfast burrito? They order one item. What do you think should be a normal or an average or make sense of a tip for one item like that to be delivered, let's say, 3 miles away? If you ask me, I would say that if a customer tips in, let's say, $5 for that order, it makes sense. We're not talking about the no-tip customers, because we know that doesn't make any sense. And we know when somebody tips $10 or $15 for a breakfast burrito, and that's the only thing that they got, that doesn't make sense either, but you don't see a lot of offers like that. They're not normal. Now, if you're like a Rockefeller or you're an NFL star that makes millions, or you're a movie player, or anybody that's making $200,000 to $300,000 a year, that's when you might see an offer like that, but those are not normal offers you see back to back. You might see 1 or 2 of those a day, if any. So what is the normal average tip for something like this, as an example? I think $5 is normal. $5, everybody can agree to it. And if the base pay, let's say, is $2, and they put in a $5 tip, that's a $7 order. That's about a little more than $2 per mile. That's doable. But the problem is when they do put the right amount of tip in there, and now the distance is 7 miles instead of 3. Same order, one breakfast burrito, they put in a $5 tip. That's still a good average and normal amount of tip for what they ordered. You also need to look at the item that they ordered. It doesn't make sense for the tip to exceed the item that they ordered. If they order, let's say, if the burrito costs, let's say, $6, that breakfast burrito costs $6, and they put in a $10 tip. That's $16 in total for one burrito. They could pay $12 and get 2 breakfast burritos for $12. Why would they pay from 12 to 16 just to get 1 instead of 2? That's where it's not common sense. It's not logical for anybody to do that. An average, a normal order, it doesn't make any sense. So a $5 tip makes sense. Even a $4 tip for that offer makes sense. When the delivery distance is short, because the base pay is the issue. That's where I'm going with this. The base pay is the issue. Now, we understand the offers that they don't have no tips in them. We know that's not fair. But when the tip is fair, what happens? The base pay is not fair for a lot of these offers, and it's not the tip. Because when the delivery distance is 10 miles away, and they order, let's say, a Big Mac, or they order, let's say, a salad, or a small dinner plate, or even a sandwich. And actually, they did put a $6 tip on that offer. Single items. Because I've seen, and that's why a lot of drivers are seeing, a lot of these offers are single items nowadays because of the economy. They're not ordering as much. We covered that before. So a lot of these single item offers that we're getting for one item, like I said, either a sandwich or this and that, and it's like they put in even a $6 tip. And it's going 10 miles. The base pay has to cover for the distance. See, in this scenario, they're 10 miles away, they order one thing, they put in a $6 tip, and the base pay, they'll increase it to $3.50. So that's $9.50 for the total of the offer. $9.50 with tip and base pay is $9.50. It's going 10 miles. You're making less than $1 per mile. That offer is not going to be accepted. The tip, it does accept, we do accept what the tip is in there. That tip makes sense for that order. Because they didn't order food items that the total cost of the food was $100 or $200 and they put in a $6 tip. That's not the case. They ordered one breakfast burrito or one Big Mac or one sandwich or even one coffee. It will never exceed the amount of what the item costs. The tip is going to be higher than that. Is that the companies are not kicking in with their base pay. So the issue is the long distance offers, they need to adjust the base pay for those to cover up for the cost for the driver. Maintenance, gas, and cost of living. While you're doing this, why are you doing this type of delivery service? You need to make enough to cover all these costs. But if you're doing a delivery like for the example of $9.50 going 10 miles, you're going to be in a hole. So it's not going to be something that you want to do. It's not going to be worth it for any driver to do that nowadays, especially now. We're talking about right now. We're not talking about 7 years ago. We're talking about right now. Now, back then, you might have done something like that, $9.50 for 10 miles. And that was still questionable. But some drivers will say, okay, my rent is lower 7 years ago. My gas was lower. My expenses were lower. Yeah, I'll take this. There's nothing going on. I'll take it. Nowadays, drivers won't even think twice about it. They know automatically that this thing is not going to make it. So that's why the base pay for certain orders out there, and that's why we're seeing it depend on your market. If you're in a market that the distances, or let's say the radar that covers that area that you're working in is big, you're going to see a lot of those long distance offers. Unless you're in an isolated town and there's no other towns next to it, and the only deliveries they're going to get is from that one town, and all the shoppings, the restaurants, and the food and everything is in the center of the town, the max distance either way, it'll be 6 to 7 miles, no more than that. I can see it happening there. And it still will be an issue if those orders don't have any tips in them. They will still not be, they're not going to be delivered. Well, some drivers will accept them, but we're saying as an agreement of what an average delivery should be for a total pay, with base pay and tips. And the analysis shows that, and a lot of drivers can either agree or disagree with that, is that a lot of these offers, the tip does make sense of the tip that they put in there for what they ordered. It's just that some of the distances that these offers are going to, the base pay does not cover it. The base pay needs to be more when the distances are far away. That's all I'm saying. So what do you guys think? Do you guys agree or disagree? Now, we all agree about the no-tip offers. That's a whole different discussion. That's a whole different topic. It doesn't make any sense. We know that. And even on the other end, when they order in a coffee and they put in a $20 tip, that doesn't make sense either. But that can happen. We're talking about the normal stuff, the normal orders, what a normal tip should be. What's the issue? The issue is the base pay for some of these offers that go in long distance. Like I said, a $6 for 3 miles, that's $2 per mile, doable. A $6 for 10 miles, that's way under $1 per mile. It's not normal. It doesn't make any sense. And I think mostly it has to do with the base pay. If you guys agree or disagree, let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you guys all later.